Hi everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor. We are going to talk about episode 3 of Luke Cage. It's called Who's Going to Take the Weight? Full spoilers for the episode, as always. And yeah, so this obviously deals with the aftermath of the last episode. And in fact, one of the direct correlations of this is Luke Cage and Cottenmouth like having a confrontation, as it were, in the funeral home.
Aye.
And we also find out that the funeral director is also working with Cottonmouth to like dispose of bodies and other shady dealings.
Who isn't working with Cottenmouth at this point?
That's true. There's more on that later. But yeah, so Luke Cage's whole story here is that and again, we start the episode with a little glimpse of the future, a little
Mm.
glimpse of what's happening later that day. Although this time it actually told us, it actually came up saying earlier
It did.
that
I
day.
thought it was really weird that they kind of trusted us to just get it last time, and this time it felt the need to tell us, where I felt this was probably even less necessary than the one before.
Yeah, it was really, really weird. Unless maybe they were worried that you thought it was a continuation of the end of the last episode, because it felt like it could have been at
Oh, that's
first.
true.
Because it ended with him looking at that building.
Yeah. But then surely you'd have got it from context when he talks about that place and because they immediately start talking like not immediately, but they're talking about how it's like a fort and it's all
Oh yeah,
concrete.
yeah. Eventually throughout the episode, sure, but I can see why they would think at the start.
Mm,
We might think, oh, this is just what happened next, but it wasn't. It was like the next night. There was like a whole day of things in between.
it's true. That's very true.
So, so Luke Cage throughout the episode, because Pop's barber shop is like in debt and he needs to pay bills and all that. He decides that the best way to go about this is to take it from Cottonmouth, and he gets from Chico like just basically how his system works, where he's got these stashes, but if things start going wrong, he will get everything in the one building that he refers to as his Fort Knox.
Yep.
So Luke goes around and sabotages a bunch of things and attacks like various people in his organisation, so that Cottonmouth will do this, gets all of his money in one location, and that's when we get the scene from the trailers where Luke Cage goes through with a car door and gets shot at and bends it around people, throws a couch out the window,
Fantastically set to Wu Tang's Bring the Ruckus.
which he's listening to on his earphones.
Yeah.
Speaking of the music, again, the western sort of style stuff was coming in at various
Yeah.
points.
It's really obvious and prominent at certain times.
Yeah, which is great. It's really bringing forward that whole thing. But what I like about this episode is that it between that funeral scene with Cottonmouth and Luke is that they really establish each other as their enemies. Like they clearly set up, okay, you're my enemy, and by the end of the episode, Cottonmouth knows that Luke's his enemy. Like
Yeah.
they really like set they draw that line in the sand in this episode.
Yeah, it feels like, well, I mean, it's kind of the end of the Act One almost, where this is it
Mm,
now. The motivations are in place, the rivalry's in place. Now let's tell that.
yeah. Meanwhile, Misty is putting two and two together. She what after Luke does this, because it's not quite the end of the episode when Luke does this whole heist, if you want to call it that. I mean, walking in like a brick wall and just taking it doesn't feel like a heist, but
It's probably about two-thirds through.
yeah. So the police actually say the repercussions of this, and like no one was killed, lots of bullets were fired, and they don't know how much was there to begin with, so they don't even know one bag's been taken. But Luke only takes the one bag of money. He takes enough for the shop, which is more than enough. But it looks of it, looks like another million.
Does look like a hefty amount.
And she does that thing that we've seen her do in the last episode, where she's looking at the photos and it's almost like she's there. In fact, it's actually a really beautiful transition from Luke walking out of that scene, and he walks past her as if she's there, but she's actually doing her crime scene thing, her Sherlock. You know.
Yeah, I really love the transition when she comes back to reality as well. Like, it's really well done.
Yeah. And she's sort of like, it has to be you. She remembers the bullet holes in his shirt from the last episode, and she sort of pieces it together. And we don't see the fallout of that yet. Presumably next episode we'll see her actually try and confront Luke with that knowledge. Although she did run into him in this episode.
Yes, yes.
They had a very awkward confrontation in the hallway of the hospital.
Mm.
Uh, where she tried to basically kind of interrogate him because he's kind of like in the middle of all this. Like he works at both the barber shop, he worked at Harlem's Paradise, and she's trying to like fish for information, but he's pissed at her. He's like, I'm not telling you anything.
Yeah.
You lied to me.
He's stonewalling it.
Yeah, and he even says something kind of mean, like, you know where I live if you want to combine,
Yeah.
Like, he throws it in her face, what happened. And, again, it kind of puts them back at odds, although I'm sure they'll see somewhat eye to eye as the series goes on. But that does lead nicely into a scene that I really like between Misty and her partner, Scarf. Because this scene does multiple things. It sets up her opinion on vigilantes, and that
Yeah.
the system is needed. That there's rules for them, and it firmly puts her, where her character is in terms of all that. But what the scene also does is the first scene where you kind of actually get a sense of Scarf, and it does. And don't get me wrong, I've seen the swerve coming, but the scene works very well to make you kind of like him because he's very jovial with her. They joke about things, mainly about sports, talk about basketball, and it's very, very friendly and like making fun of each other. And it's probably the first time where he doesn't just feel like a dick. And I feel like it's very intentional that that's there, so that a couple of scenes later, when we see that he is secretly a bad guy, that we care a bit more. It stings just a little bit.
It was like almost a little bit too obvious that what they were going to do, but it still played for a fantastic moment when he revealed it.
Yeah, because he's taking off his tie, like while Chico's talking, and then he just like strangles.
It's that thing
him
where you can see it while you're watching him talk.
But at the same time, the thing that I thought was effective is that I was kind of hoping before he did it that he wasn't. Like, I was kind of going, that seems like what's going to happen, but I'm kind of hoping he doesn't, because I don't know if that's more interesting, if this, this dick, essentially, is actually a stand-up guy otherwise. Like, that's maybe almost more of an interesting thing for him than...
See, I thought that until he actually made a power play at Cottenmouth, which was really interesting for me. Because before, I thought if it was just like he was just a lackey, he's just being paid off. It's like, seeing it. It's not particularly interesting.
Yeah.
It could be fine, but there's nothing exciting about that. But the idea that he's making a power play against him is interesting to me.
It's the way that he talks to him more than anything else that really makes it interesting. It's the way he... his entire demeanour when he walks in. Like, everyone else is scared of Cottonmouth, but he walks in, he's got swagger, He does. He thinks he can control the situation. And I feel like that'll come back to bite him at some point. But for now, he feels, he's on top of the world. And he's taking care of Chico, he's offering Cottonmouth more stuff. So I'll be interested to see how this plays out. And now that we know what he's actually up to, it should make more of an interesting dynamic between him and Misty. And
yeah, they'll now that they've revealed it, they'll probably highlight it a bit more and show some more interesting things along that line.
So of course that gets us to the end of the episode, which is, I'll give them credit. I was not expecting a rocket launcher.
Me, when he started pulling something out, I was like, oh, maybe he's got a sniper or something.
Not a sniper rifle.
No, it was not.
But Joe, because Luke has this sweet moment with the Chinese lady who is his landlord and runs the restaurant, because he's famished. He's had this night of getting shot at, and he's having eating his. I was going to say having his cake and eating it too. That's a stupid metaphor for the situation. He's eating some Chinese food, and they have this nice little moment because she's always been kind of antagonistic because she's always like, oh, where's my money, you're past due, all that kind of thing. And they have this kind of moment where after he hands her this wad of cash that he's taken from the bag that he stole, where she puts his hand on his and is kind of like thankful that he's there.
Yeah.
Doesn't last though, because we cut to Cottonmouth and he's like on the roof and they're like, where's this going? Pulls up a rocket launcher.
Yeah. My biggest concern is, do we really need to see Luke Cage and more blowing up buildings?
It's funny because I was reminded that he was in a blown up building like episode. It may have even been the same number of episodes last.
It might have been,
in Jessica Jones. It may have been the exact same point in the show. But at the same time, this was more over the top because the entire building crumbles after. Like, it starts to fall.
Yeah.
Because it takes out the entire like ground floor, so the whole thing starts to just. And obviously, he dives for the landlord, and so presumably she might be safe. because he's like shielding her. But who else is in that building? Her husband is kicking about.
Well, even
maybe.
that, I'm not entirely sure she said. I mean, sure, she'd probably saved it from the initial blast, but then the building does crumble.
True. She's got more of a chance than anyone else that might be in the building.
Absolutely.
But I think this is a great like show of like, yeah, Cottenmouth seems like a really sort of like, sure, we've seen him be violent and act out. I mean, we've seen that quite a bit. He's thrown someone off a roof, but he tries to play it cool and he tries to. But this is showing like just how far he'll go. Like if you really push his buttons, he'll blow up an entire building to get to you.
Yeah, he's really gone extreme on this one.
So already, end of episode 3, and the stakes feel like they've all just lifted.
Yeah, I think obviously because it's weird because obviously you can't hurt him. Like as a villain, he can't hurt Luke directly, so he has to hurt the people.
But he doesn't really know that yet, does he?
I don't know. I feel like maybe that's why he went for the rocket launch. He was like, well, if this might do it. But obviously the detectives filled him in on some things, like bulletproof. But
which again, I feel like maybe he has an idea, but I don't think he like fully know. Like it's speculation still at this point. He's not seen it happen. He's not seen him like have a bullet bounce off him. So at this point, it's like, all right, I've heard he's indestructible. Let's see if he's indestructible to a rocket launcher.
Yeah, no. But it does lead interesting going forward. It's like obviously that's the only way to affect him is to take out the people around him.
Yeah, but he is well to cut off. Obviously, he has Pop's friend who was playing chess with him, who seems to be sticking around. I know him as Trenton from Mr. Robot, but he's going to stick around and like potentially take care of the barbershop.
Yeah, his name's Bobby Fish.
Bobby Fish, there you go. Fish, I'll remember Fish. He seems like he'll stick around and take care of the shop. So he's a potential target, maybe. Misty eventually, I imagine, might be a target. But he does have this thing where he's keeping to himself and he's not having these many ties.
He does, but I wonder if this will lead him to close off even more.
Yeah.
Because he feels like he's starting to open up. Whereas if they actively start targeting people, he might close up even more, and that'll be like something he has to overcome.
We'll have to see how he acts next episode. But yeah, anything else you want to bring up before we?
Just one of my favorite moments was when he was talking to Chico near the start, and he was like, "Well, hang on, what if it was a bullet that bounced off you that killed Pop?" Adding to his guilt that it's even more directly his fault.
Which is weird coming from him because it's more directly his fault.
It is. I think obviously for Chico it's just a way of deflecting it and him trying to deal with his guilt.
Deflecting. Given what you're talking about, deflecting is a very good word. Yeah,
it is. But obviously for Luke, it really doesn't help.
Yeah. So that's episode 3 of Luke Cage. We'll be back with episode 4 sometime tomorrow. So thank you very much for watching. Let us know what you thought of episode 3 in the comments below. Like and subscribe and all that stuff. It helps us out a lot. Thank you very much, guys. We will see you next time.